Here's our project for today. We are going to install some caulking, and I'm going to show you how to do that, and we're going to fill up that line and make it virtually disappear. Now that line is a crack in the sheetrock, obviously, but it's not as big as you really think. I'm going to pan this back so you can see. It's up on the ceiling. That's a sheetrock ceiling, and the homeowner, they don't like that crack. It's a little unsightly. It's at a joint where the sheetrock meets together up in the ceiling, and we're going to install some caulking over that. And I'm going to show you a few tips that you might not be aware of when you're using a caulk gun and when you install that, because I've seen some people's patches on a ceiling and I can point them right out, because obviously there's always a right way and a wrong way to do something, and I want to show you the right way. You might say, what's the difference what type of caulking I use? I'm just going to get some white caulking and put it up there. What big deal is it? Well, let me tell you, there's a huge deal. And I'm going to go through that too. I'm not going to just tell you how to put the caulking up there. I'm going to explain what type of caulking I'm going to use and why. It's very important that you use the right caulking. I'm going to tell you a few different things about the type of caulking that we should use there up on a ceiling. When I looked up at the ceiling, it's very important to take a look at the existing conditions, and I noticed that it's a glossy ceiling. The paint is not flat or a low sheen paint. It's very shiny. So when I put this caulking up there, even though it's a small line, I want to use the right caulking, because if you don't, you're gonna see it. And what I've chosen is just some acrylic latex caulk, it's called. And I've got brilliant white. Now you can get this in different colors. And the reason why I'm going with acrylic caulking is because when this dries, it has a sheen to it. Okay? Now you can get this with just regular latex caulk, you know, that most painters use before they paint, but we're not going to put any paint over the caulking when we get done. So if you use just latex caulking, you could have a tendency of seeing your patch up there if you don't wipe it all off. Okay? There's some other stuff I could have used. This is a really good product too. This is caulking. It's kind of like this other caulking that I just showed you, but this has elastomeric in it. So if that caulk line, if that gap was bigger, this has a tendency to stretch, and it will stretch. So if the crack grows at all, this will stretch with it, whereas most other caulkings, they don't do that. They'll crack out. Now that's a very small line up there, and what I'm going to end up doing is, this house is pretty old, so I'm hoping that the crack's not going to get any bigger. So I'm going to use the acrylic latex caulking as opposed to the elastomeric, because the elastomeric, I think, dries flat. I don't think it's going to have a sheen to it. So I'm going to use my good old Alex Plus. You can use anything you want. You know, this is from DAP, but this has acrylic in it. So acrylic always makes your caulking, when it dries, it makes it just a hair shinier. That probably doesn't really matter, but I'm just telling you what I'm going to use here. And we're going to get going in a minute.